Y'all ready to go for a ride?
That's all it is at this point. It's just a motorcycle and chaos.
Right, and we're rolling right on the road. Woohoo! Yeah.
So we threw a chain.
Well, howdy, folks. Thanks for watching my adventures so far. I've been having a blast making these videos and taking you all along on my rides. But today I have something a little different for you that I hope you'll enjoy as well. An Arizona desert story. A real-life, true ghost story. Yep, folks, here in this haunted desert, the ghosts are entirely real. Especially the red ghost. Now, folks, this is going to sound like a tall tale. But stick with me until the end, and I promise you that I'll tell you a real ghost story that helped shape the colorful folklore of this amazing place. Our tale begins near Eagle Creek, very close to the current-day town of Clifton in southeast Arizona. The first reported run-in with the Red Ghost happened in the spring of 1883 on a remote sheep ranch. One of two ranch wives went out to fetch some water and never returned. Later on that day, her body was found, trampled to death. The earth of the area around the body was churned up with a frenzy of huge, cloven hoofprints and clumps of reddish hair on nearby brush. To these folk in that moment of tragedy, it may have seemed the devil himself was here in Eagle Creek, in that lonely canyon, in his vast, empty desert. A few days after this event, in a place called Chase's Creek, just northeast of the Eagle Creek Ranch, where the killing took place, two prospectors had their tents smashed in the middle of the night by an enormous, angry beast. This devilish monstrosity tore up their camp and left them baffled as to what this thing even was. Now, like an echo in these remote canyons, word travels fast, and some miners that heard about these events, they went to visit and found similarities in both places. Frenzied, cloven hoofprints and that reddish hair. Soon, word was spreading around campfires of the Red Ghost, a demon beast of this wild place. About a month after the attack at the ranch in Eagle Canyon, a fellow named Cyrus Hamblin was out near the Salt River, about 80 miles away, rounding up stray cattle. He spotted a strange sight off in the distance. A large, reddish animal that seemed to have some kind of unusual burden strapped upon it that looked sort of like a man and not one of the living variety. Now, Hamblin's experience in standing in the community gave this tall tale of the Red Ghost some credence beyond the campfire gossip so far. A strange, tall beast with a ghostly figure atop it. A few weeks later, along the Verde River, a party of 5 prospectors came across the beast and fired at it. As it trotted off, they noticed something fall from its back. Now they approached it, and to their horror, they made a grim discovery. A human skull with a few shreds of flesh and hair still attached. Shortly after this, along the Verde, teamsters reported a very strange occurrence. A 30-foot tall monster with black wings, knocking over wagons in the night. Now, things might not be so clear after that umpteenth shot of whatever rot gut they had in camp, and a beast like the Red Ghost might just look to be 30 feet tall in that moment. But when dawn broke and the dust was settled, sure as the hills are old, there they were, those frantic, cloven hoofprints and red hair aside those turned-over freight wagons. By now, newspapers, saloons, and campfires were abuzz with headlines and the talk of the living legend of the Red Ghost. And for the next decade, the deserts of this land would be truly haunted by the Red Ghost. Back in those days, they weren't fact-checkers and community notes and whatnot, so some newspapers, shall we say, took some liberty with the facts and may have slightly exaggerated the story of the beast, fueling the legend, giving it an otherworldly supernatural aura. I'd imagine some treated it as if the devil himself had risen right here out of Eagle Canyon in Hell's Half Acre we call the Sonora Desert. That's good for business after all. Now from 1883 till 1892, the sightings, legends, and tales grew as folks all over this rugged land had their sightings and encounters. Between 1885 and 1887, the supernatural aspect of this legend really took hold. Some claimed that the beast would vanish into thin air when it was fired upon, that it could run faster than a horse and left no tracks, except when it was tearing up the camp and turning over wagons, I reckon. That one is kind of a head-scratcher. Many reported their horses being spooked during the encounters with the red ghost. It was reported to be between 10 and 30 feet tall, and some say it was a beast straight from hell, with a demon rider atop it coming to harvest souls. It's said to have killed men and livestock up and down the entire Verde River. Legend even has it that this devilish beast had a run-in with a grizzly. And well, that didn't work out so well for that poor bear. Back in these days, Arizona Territory was a truly wild, lawless, and violent place with transients, miners, and ranchers. And in this environment, the tall tales grew even taller with every retelling. It was the perfect time and place for stories like this to become part of the fabric of a harsh, wild desert life. Then, on a chilly February morning in 1893 at a camp called Orr on the San Francisco River, a rancher named Mizu Hastings, living just above the camp, awoke to find the red ghost right outside his window, banqueting in his turnip patch. Now Mizu then grabbed his rifle. He calmly steadied it on the windowsill, and with a held breath, he squeezed that trigger. The shot cracked the still morning air with a mighty clap, and with that, the legend fell dead. The legendary red ghost crumpled to a pile right there in Mizu's turnip patch on this cool desert morning. The legend is dead. But what was this devil beast straight from the depths of hell and its grim demon rider? Well, this might sound just as crazy as all the legend and lore, but it turns out that Old Red here wasn't a demon, or 30 feet tall, or had bat wings, but was a very large camel, burdened with a grim load upon its back. The camel's carcass was scarred with a tightly bound network of rawhide straps that held the remains of what was once a man secured tightly atop it, whose corpse was doomed to roam the deserts for eternity. But a camel? Here in the Arizona Territory? Well, you see, back in the 1850s, the government had themselves a bit of a logistical dilemma. How to transport all the equipment and supplies through this rugged, parched land that was recently acquired in the Mexican-American War. Their answer? Camels. And with this decision, the United States Camel Corps was born. This military experiment brought camels to the desert to take advantage of their ability to travel 30 to 40 miles a day on little to no water, to carry heavier loads than pack horses or mules could, and for their acclimation to the desert environments. Jefferson Davis, then U.S. Secretary of War, was an advocate for the Camel Corps, and on March 3, 1855, Congress appropriated $30,000 for the purchase and importation of camels for military purposes. And with that, on this date, the United States Camel Corps was officially formed. In the years of 1855 and 1856, Major David Dixon Porter set sail for the Middle East, visiting Smyrna, Alexandria, and Tunis, and purchased 33 camels, mostly dromedaries and some Bactrian hybrids, along with Greek and Arab camel drivers and handlers, including Haji Ali, whose name became Americanized to Hi Jolly. And on May 14, 1856, the ship USS Supply, carrying the first cargo of camels, arrived in the port town of Indianola, Texas. The year of 1857 saw another shipment of about 70 camels and their handlers arrive. The camels were driven overland to Camp Verde, Texas, where they were based. Soldiers were trained here to handle the beasts of burden. From Camp Verde, several camel expeditions were launched and were successful for the most part, but this success was to be short-lived. In 1861, the Civil War kicked off, pitting the Union against the Confederacy. The Camel Corps' biggest proponent, Jefferson Davis, joined the Confederacy, and the Camel Corps lost all its political backing. Many of the camels at Camp Verde were captured by Confederate forces, which were then recaptured by Union troops. By 1866, Congress ordered that all remaining camels were to be sold at auction. Many were outright abandoned to roam these lands, and the rest were sold off to private freight companies, zoos, and circuses. Now this led to dozens of now feral camels roaming the deserts of the Southwest. And roam they did. They traveled the deserts far and wide, from Texas out to California, and along the way, one of these feral camels became the Red Ghost. Who knows what kind of altercation or dispute led to this poor unknown demon rider fellow to meet his end and be tightly lashed to Old Red here and set off to haunt the deserts for a decade before that fateful day when Mizu brought this beast's reign of terror to its end. During this time, other camel sightings were reported. It's believed that feral camels persisted in the Southwest into the early 1900s, with some unconfirmed sightings reported as late as the 1940s. Now, Haji Ali, a Syrian Greek Muslim, or as he was known in the deserts here, Hajj Ali, stayed here in Arizona after the program ended and became somewhat of a local legend himself, falling into the life of a prospector and desert scout. He married a Mexican-American woman who bore him 2 children and became well known for his flair for storytelling, with an exotic accent and desert stories spanning from his days as a camel driver for the Ottoman Empire and later as a desert guide throughout the Middle East, all the way here to the adventures he had in this wild desert half a world away from his home. And one day, while doing what he loved, prospecting in the deserts near Quartzsite, his heart gave out. He died on December 16, 1902, near Quartzsite, Arizona. His grave, originally a simple cairn in the desert, is now marked with a pyramid with a camel on top. In 1935, local citizens, along with help from the Arizona Highway Department, erected an 8-foot-tall pyramid-shaped monument topped with a cast steel camel to honor this man's great legacy. The plaque on the monument reads, "The last camp of Hajj Ali, born somewhere in Syria about 1828, died at Quartzsite December 16, 1902, came to this country February 10, 1856, camel driver, packer scout, over 30 years of faithful aid to the U.S. government. Arizona Highway Department, 1935. We can only imagine what it was like to listen to this old desert soul with his exotic foreign accent weave tales of wild adventure extending back to the old world and the Ottomans all the way here to the legendary deserts of the Sonora. And folks, thanks for coming on this historical adventure of words and stories with me. Ghosts are real sometimes, and this story is one of them true ghost stories of this beautiful haunted land full of some of the wildest adventures ever had. If you're still listening, go ahead and give this a like and leave a comment to let me know if you'd like to hear more stories like this brought to life. For me personally, these stories are so real. They're vividly brought to life every time I toss a leg over old Ratzilla and storm off into these deserts like a man on a mission in search of both old and new adventure stories. Chasing the old stories and legends, some real, some folklore, and the magical feeling of visiting places where amazing human dramas have played out for generations, back beyond the depths of known time and history, and connecting with it. It's one thing to see history as a faded record of dates and names in some century-old archive or bland, boring textbook, but to live, journey, and adventure in the same lands as these folks is something that no book of facts and statistics can ever do justice. Don't let these stories end with our modern time. It's up to us now, fellow modern-day adventurers, to keep exploring, rediscovering things lost to time, to keep the story alive by living our own high adventures in search of history, legend, and lore, as well as making brand new tales and legends of our own modern-day iron horses and aluminum camels. Wherever you are, go toss a leg over and go find your local lore and legend. Find out who and what shaped the local history of your place and pay homage to it by retelling the old tales while making your own new stories to tell. Our humanity ends if we lose our connection to these stories and we become a people without a past.